So let's talk about this keyword in brief. For such a simple word, it's pretty complex. Um, and then we'll create a getter method. Okay, so this is a keyword. It's colored in purple, and it's a word that is reserved for the use of the programming language itself, Java. This keyword is pretty much works the same in any other language: PHP, Java, JavaScript, C++, C Sharp, you name it. It's same. So once you understand the concept here, it works across the board. Now, let me start with an example. Donald likes to ride his bike. His bike is red. Mary likes to ride her bike. Her trike is blue. Now, it should be pretty obvious to you that his, in this case, is referring to Donald. And in this case here, okay, her is referring to Mary. Now, it doesn't matter if I go, Marty likes to ride his bike. Okay? In which case, his, in this case, it makes you, his is equal to Marty. Okay? So you can see here that, and this is an example that actually one of the students in my class brought up, and I thought this is, I mean, like, I thought this is the greatest example ever for learning what this keyword is doing. So in this case, the pronoun his is referring to Donald, okay, and you can see in this case here, this pronoun his is referring to Marty, okay. Now let's bring this back to Java. Now in this case, this is referring to, now listen carefully, the object that called this method. In which case, all right, this is equal to G1, because G1 is the object name that called this method here. So that is like saying, okay, this, I'm going to call like G1. That's going to give me an error, obviously. Okay, so that is the same thing. You might want to rewind it and check that out a little bit. Okay, so let's make a getter method. So now that I use a setter method to set the object fields, what I want to do is I want to use a getter method to get this object field. All right. So I don't have one yet, so let's make one. Okay, and so this is a getter method gets the first name field and sends it back. Okay, so this is going to look like this. This is going to look like public. Okay, public, because I need to access it outside of this file. Public string equals, and this is public string get name f, and I don't need any arguments. I don't think I do. And then let's see here, and we'll return name f. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about how this method works. So this is obviously a comment, doesn't do anything. It's ignored by the compiler. Okay. So the method name that I've chose here is getNameF, and it's use the name convention again. The second word and the third word, the first letter of the second and third word are capitalized. And follows the same kind of pattern, okay, as this one. I want to always be consistent in the way I name my variables, name my properties or fields and methods and behaviors. Always, always, always be consistent. So this is the name that I chose, and it is of the type string, which means that it's going to return, see here, return a string, okay, and it's a public behavior method, meaning I can access it from any other class. Okay, now I don't need any arguments from here, and again, what I'm doing here is I'm returning the name f. Now, why am I doing this? It's simply because name f is a private field I can access it from only inside this file. So it is totally legal for me to return this this data to the object that called it. So let's call this function here. And I'm gonna go. I'm gonna call it through g1 dot set. Get. So here's my function, get name f, and that's it. Okay. So if I run it, it's not gonna do anything by the way. If I run it, nothing happens. That's because, now listen carefully to this. I'm returning the name. Okay. And it's returning the name to here. Okay, so what I'm doing here is now what I want to do is I'm returning it, but I'm not doing anything with the data. It's just being like sent back to this file, but it's just, you know, kind of disappearing. So what I need to do is I need to output it. So system, I'm going to wrap it system out print line and bracket around there. Okay, and by doing that, run. Okay, there. See now what? Now let's see what happened here. Okay, so let's analyze this line and make sure every time I do this, if it's not obvious already, don't continue with the video unless you get it. Right? I mean, like, stop and ask a question or ask somebody else, but you know, or else you're just gonna get lost. Okay, so here's what's happening. I'm using the object G1, which now you notice when I highlight it, it highlights up here. Isn't that cool? G1, which I created in this line here. Okay, and I'm calling the get name assessor, the getter, through the G1 object. Okay, in that object here, in that function, I have the get name function define algorithm defined here, in which case I'm simply going to return the name field. All right, and then when I return the name field, it's going to appear here. Oops, it's going to appear the name. The data is going to appear here, and then this line here is going to print it to screen, as you can see here. All right, that's how it works. Okay, so if you haven't noticed this already, a funny thing here. Actually, I honestly forgot this, and I just forgot it. And I'm actually a little bit surprised that it works. So I'm gonna go this. All right. So what I want to do now, again, rewind until the example of what I explained, what this means is now. This, okay, now the object name that I used to call the get name getter is G1. Okay, so when I call this one here, okay, in get name f getter method, okay, the object that called it is G1. Therefore, the pronoun like this is actually equal to G1. All right. Because, like it said, it's no different than in here. Marty likes to ride her trike. His trike is blue. So therefore, his is referring to Marty. Okay, and again in Java. All right. G1 is calling the get name f assessor and getter. Okay, and then so this is referring to G1. There you have it.